is widely believed that Peter Jackson's interpretation of J.R.R. Tolkien's work is one of the best book adaptations ever put to film. One of the most recognizable aspects of the film is the music composed by Howard Shore. This sweeping score, which is present in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit film trilogies, takes much of its inspiration from Tolkien's own work. Many of the most memorable scores from the movies are renditions of the poetry, prophecy, and songs that Tolkien uses to create the world of Middle-earth. For instance, in The Hobbit, Tolkien wrote songs for all the major races of characters in the book, such as the dwarves, the goblins, and the elves. Each of these races has a distinct style of music that reflects their traditions and temperament. The purpose of this video essay is to examine how the musical score of the Hobbit trilogy compares to Tolkien's description of the dwarves, goblins, and elves through their respective songs, The Misty Mountains, Down in Goblin Town, and Down in the Valley. The most memorable song by the dwarves in The Hobbit is The Misty Mountains, which they sing in Bilbo's hobbit hole before they leave on their journey. In the book, the tone of this song is moody and reminiscent. Tolkien describes how the dark filled all the room and the fire died down, and suddenly first one and then another began to sing as they played, deep-throated singing of the dwarves in the deep places of their ancient home. The song is 10 verses long, and parts of the song are repeated or expounded on many more times throughout the book. This song is significant for 3 reasons. Firstly, it outlines the reason for the dwarves' quest, the danger of the dragon, and the magnificence of the treasure. Secondly, the song establishes the strong tradition and heritage that all the dwarves share. Thirdly, this song stirs up feelings of adventure in Bilbo. Tolkien writes how something Tookish woke up inside of him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains, and to wear a sword instead of a walking stick.
Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to find our long forgotten goal.
In the first Hobbit movie, An Unexpected Journey, only the 1st and 7th verses of The Misty Mountain were sung. The fact that they chose these 2 verses is significant because the first verse states the reason for the quest, to find our long-forgotten gold, while the 7th verse shows the destruction of the dragon that awaits them. The fire was red, it flaming spread. Unlike the book, the movie has the dwarves sing without accompanying instruments. Thorin sings a cappella with interwoven harmonies by the other dwarves. The fact that the dwarves sing all together shows their united heritage and desire to win back the mountain. Finally, the somber and rustic melodies underscore the gravity, foreboding, and mythos that surrounds the mountain. For these reasons, I believe that both this song and the accompanying visuals accurately portray what Tolkien meant the reader to gain from this passage. The Hobbit movie also draws musical inspiration from Tolkien's song Down in Goblin Town, which is sung as the goblins take the captured dwarves and Bilbo down into the heart of their mountain. This song has a highly improvisational feel and is often punctuated by enthusiastic commands and jibes from the other goblins. The general meaning of the song was only too plain, for now the goblins took out whips and whipped them with a swish smack and set them running as fast as they could in front of them. Tolkien describes the goblins as cruel, wicked, and bad-hearted. They make no beautiful things, but they make many clever ones. Therefore, the impromptu and raucous style of the song fits with the goblins' callous but cunning nature. In the movie, this song is only shown during the extended release of An Unexpected Journey. The movie version is much longer with several extra verses. The song itself sounds ugly and dissonant, and there is a clanging percussive beat that forms the basis for the song. Harsh stringed instruments play the melody. Additionally, the song is not smooth like the song sung by the elves or dwarves. The tempo is syncopated and the song is punctuated by loud yells. I personally feel like this scene in the movie is obnoxious and poorly written. Furthermore, I believe that this song does a poor job of mirroring the tone of the song in the book. For instance, even though the song's lyrics are kind of silly and improvisational, Tolkien says that it sounded truly terrifying. The movie makes this scene feel like a campy musical and eliminates the sense of peril that the dwarves and Bilbo are supposed to feel. A final song that the Hobbit movie takes inspiration from is the book's Elvish song, Down in the Valley. This song is sung by the capering elves as the dwarves and Bilbo enter Rivendell. Even though the elves of Rivendell are from one of the most prestigious lineages of elves, Tolkien describes these elves as carefree and jovial. For instance, they laughed and sang in the trees, in pretty fair nonsense, I dare say you think it. Not that they would care, they would only laugh all the more if you told them so. The song reflects their untroubled nature because each of the 4 verses starts with 2 questions and ends with several statements that seem disconnected from the questions that were just asked. This makes the elves seem unconcerned with finding answers to why the dwarves have arrived at Rivendell. Additionally, each verse is punctuated by a lighthearted ha-ha or tra-la-lolly, which shows how the elves do not take themselves or the dwarves very seriously.
The Valley of Eladris. In the common tongue, it's known by another name. Rivendell.
However, the elves from the first Hobbit film, An Unexpected Journey, greatly differ from the ones Tolkien describes in the book. Since the elves he later depicts in Lord of the Rings are more refined, graceful, and stoic, the movie changes the attitude of the elves to match their description from the later books. For this reason, it makes sense that the movie replaces Down in the Valley with the orchestral arrangement The Hidden Valley. This song, which plays when Bilbo and the dwarves arrive at Rivendell, contains choral singing in Elvish. The chanting is lilting and ethereal. When the Elvish verses are translated, the song talks about their god Elbereth. Even though this chant is not directly sourced from a song Tolkien wrote, it incorporates lore from his other works like Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion. Therefore, the music that accompanies this scene subtly gives framework for how the viewer should see the elves, and is therefore an understandable departure from Tolkien's original depiction. Ultimately, the music of The Hobbit accentuates Tolkien's already vivid world of Middle-earth. The score is thoughtfully composed and intentionally draws heavily from its source material. Most of the pieces, such as the Misty Mountains, perfectly capture Tolkien's emotion. Even in the songs that fell short of the source material, such as Down in Goblin Town, the fault lay more with the way the scene and characters were depicted, and less with the execution of the music. Finally, some pieces, such as A Hidden Valley, had the advantage of hindsight, and were able to bridge aspects of Tolkien's story that were originally inconsistent between his works. The depth, emotion, and thoughtfulness of the music of The Hobbit pays respectful homage to Tolkien and his fantastic world.